Shalom Shabbat. Recently, I've been asked to make a Romanian tech tree, but I'd have to fill it with fakes, so you gotta wait. In this video, I'd like to share with you my idea for Israeli tank tech tree. Israel started existing in as late as 1947, which is quite steep for the so-called World War II game, although it used many older tanks, or tanks that weren't exactly cutting edge. I think this tree is too unconventional for the game, at least for now, but if we have experimental deep-rifled guns, which themselves were real by the way, then maybe we could break the game's convention. At Tier 1, we have SARC Mark IV with French 37mm SA-38 from Renault FT. Tier 1 would be a wheeled tank, then 2 half-tracks. Quite weird, but not confusing, I think. I wonder how would this 90 kph shitter not make Tier 1's mayhem. But who cares? Everyone skips low tiers nowadays. I wish they were fun once again. Like and subscribe if you think alike, or if you can't tell a traffic cone from a child. At Tier 2, we have 𝐓𝐀𝐍𝐿 20, an M3 half-track with 20mm configurations. Then we have 𝐓𝐀𝐍𝐿 37. It is different by a different turret and an additional dead turret in hull. Tier 4 is Locust Littlejohn. It's on Tier 4 because the gun would come with a Littlejohn adapter, so similarly, Matilda's top gun, it would be a very high-velocity small gun. 37mm though, not 40mm. It would deal 55 damage per shot, with great DPM. Good pen will make you save money to spend at the casino. At Tier 5, we have pretty much a clone of American Tier 5 Sherman. Except it starts off with a short Swiss 75mm Krupp, while 75mm M3 and 76mm M1 are improved a little, so the top gun deals 125 damage. At Tier 6, there would be M50 Isherman, a Sherman with French long 75mm, 140 damage per shot with fine DPM, like the 𝐕8. Tier 7 would be home to 𝐓𝐄𝐄𝐿, which would be a mashup of the 𝐓𝐄𝐄𝐿 project and M51's gun. You can see that it's a Sherman with height saw-off. Not a surprise that it's sawed off. Sounds familiar for these folks. The gun in question is a 105mm firing 𝐓𝐿𝐿𝐻𝐸 in 𝐻E shells. It would pack a punch with 340 damage per shot, so the 𝐓𝐄𝐄𝐿 would be like the American T20 but on steroids. Of course, if it is on the same tier, some things would have to be worse. Due to gun-firing heat only, it would have tragic velocity and far inferior accuracy to the T20. The fun starts at Tier 8, where vehicles branch off. Now you will see what really Israeli tanks mean. We will have 2 medium lines and 1 optional line I'll talk about at the end. Starting from Tier 8, these tanks would be assault medium tanks. Let's start with Tech Tree Tier 8, 𝐓𝐿𝐻𝐸/M48. It's a 𝐓𝐿𝐻𝐸 using an M48 turret without the mini turret on top. This vehicle could use Centurion turret as stock because it was on some other prototype. That would mean starting with a 20-pounder gun, a less steep gun progress. It would go around 45 to 50 kilometers per hour with poor power-to-weight ratio, and like other 𝐓𝐻𝐸s, it would have strong lower plate, just like the Liberté. They would have decent 50mm sides. It all sounds overpowered, but remember that the front would be penetrable for most tank up front, if not angled properly. Then the premium Tier 8 is 𝐓𝐻𝐸, a 𝐓𝐻𝐸 prototype mock-up with a slightly better L7 variant. Mobility is around the same. Tier 9 is 𝐓𝐻𝐸 prototype, similar to the 𝐓𝐻𝐸, except with a different chassis and a better L7, or M68, call it. Then we have the crown of the tree, 𝐓𝐻𝐸 Mark I, the pinnacle of the tree, mediocre 50 kph speed with around 14 horsepower per ton, armor able to withstand most of the Tier 10 mediums, and a decent close-quarters gun. I know armor values here are unhistorical, but hey, remember that in 𝐓𝐄𝐿𝐻 you can't tank shots with engine, so it would be streamlined into another sniper medium line. The second line would more resemble of the patent line, but they would be sluggish assault mediums as well. They would have far better stabilization, but lesser damage per shot and a little worse top speed. At Tier 8, we have Magic 1, a modified M48. Its top turret would be that of a Magic 3, and it would use a yet again nerfed L7 as its top gun. It would be slow, it would have weak lower plate this time, but it would be generally an okay Tier 8. At Tier 9 we have 𝐓𝐀𝐄𝐋, essentially an M60 hull with additional armor, with an M48A5 turret. The top turret would be that of a 𝐓𝐀𝐄𝐋, so an M60 turret with its huge weak spot, although I'd make it a tough one, for modern World of Tanks meta. Mobility, firepower, and survivability remain similar to the previous one. Now the Tier 10 in this branch is 𝐓𝐀𝐶, quite modern for World of Tanks, but remember that we already have 1970s tanks, so why not a 1980s modification of a 1960s one? It would be still an assault medium, but this time a spaced armor monster, absolute hell for heat shells. It would have a top speed of 45 kilometers per hour, but with decent power to weight ratio. The third additional line would be real-life artillery pieces played as howitzer tank destroyers. You would poke once a while and punch a powerful HESH or heat into someone's face. It would start either at Tier 7 with M51-55 and M50 converted into an artillery with a shorter 150mm. At Tier 8, there would be L-33 Rome, a huge box made for nothing but being farmed by anything that can hit a barn at 10 meters. Later it gets more interesting, as these vehicles have turrets. At Tier 9, there's an M72 Soltom, and at Tier 10, there's 𝐓𝐿EF. I don't really like these quote-unquote artillery tank destroyers in War Thunder, but maybe there they would be better, or maybe not. No more shit barns. How would you make them fun and cool? Any ideas? Let me know in the comments. So here you have the Israel tech tree for World of Tanks. It could be more satisfying with some cool 1950s and 1960s fakes, but if no need, don't use them, although...
You're such a fat ass, Cartman. At least I'm not a stupid Jew.
Forgot to mention the premiums and reward tanks. Israel had a lot of singular tanks that it sold to other nations, like PT-71, so let's save them up for other tech trees. For sure we can make a Tier 8 premium light tank, maybe a reward, AMX-1360. That is an AMX-13 with a high-velocity 60mm gun. It's good penetration. Maybe a Tier 8 version of 1357. Then we have Tiran 4S. That's just AT-55 with an L7. But there's already a lot of L7S, and we already have AT-54D which has got an L7, and Chinese 121 is AT-55 with an L7. But maybe we just need it. It always can go as an Uruguayan tank somewhere else. Anyway, we still got the Israeli light tank, yet another L7, maybe a Tier 10 reward. We also have shot KAL-ALEF L11, which is a 120mm Centurion. What would you do with it?
What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you.